Hello, B.F.D. followers. It's been a while, and I thought I'd give you guys an update on my belt drive Pinion Gearbox hardtail, and it's done. I've actually had it out for the fourth ride now, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's got a couple of things that I've learned and am adapting my riding style to it. It's a little different, and I'll go over a couple of things that I absolutely love about this bike, and then a couple of things that I did not know at the time, and thus it's making me make some adjustments. Not necessarily bad things, just adjustments. All right, give me a second and I'll give you a rundown. Okay, so what we have here is I have built myself a hardtail steel frame, and I've made it a long travel 160 fork with a mixed wheel base, so 29 up front, 27.5 in the back. I absolutely am a complete convert for the mixed wheel. So before I was a total of 27.5, never could get my head around the 29er. I just didn't feel right on them. Sure, cross country, yeah, but for me, I like doing techie in the woods type stuff, and it just never worked for me. So mixed wheelbase is definitely the way to go, especially if you're like 5'7" and a quarter, 5'7" and a half. I'm shrinking. Anyway, so let me give you a rundown. I have the SRAM Lyric up front, and I paired it with a Michelin Wild AM2 2.4 tire. I have those on front and back, and I am absolutely sold on the Michelins right now. I was a Continental fan when they had the De Baerens, but they did away with those, and then they went to the Cryptic Halls, and I went with that because I was loyal to them, and not my favorite tire. They're fast, but they don't grip as well. These Michelins, on the other hand, seem to be gripping really well. They're fast, and I'll keep giving you updates on that too. But anyway, so one thing about the Pinion Gearbox is it comes, well, it doesn't come with, but basic setup is with a grip shift. And I went with the 9-speed thinking, that this was going to be more of an enduro hardtail, not a pedal cross-country beast, not with a 160 fork. But anyway, the things that I've learned about the Pinion Gearbox. Okay, the Pinion Gearbox, this is a 9-speed. It has 9 speeds, and therefore the gear ratios are pretty big jumps between gears, which was totally fine by me. I knew that going in, and I was thinking enduro, okay, and that's exactly it. This is a great gearbox for enduro racing, and for the person that just wants to ride at their own pace up a hill and then bomb down. Even gravel riding, it's not too bad, but where it is a little disappointing is because the gears are so far apart that it's hard to find the one that you want, especially if you're pedaling fast going on flats. I.e., like I was riding up here in gear 7, and it was tiring me out, so I dropped to 6. That was too easy, and I was spinning like a banshee. Maybe that would be good for me in the long run. I'll learn to pick up my cadence, but I'm kind of a masher, so that was a little awkward and hard for me. It made me just as tired pedaling fast as it did hard. So keep that in mind. All right, and so if you're racing, the 12-speed is the way to go, I think. If you don't care about how long it's going to take you to get to the top, and you're at your own pace, you don't have to keep up with anyone, the 9-speed works great. And for downhill and enduros, man, this thing has a ratio that will let you climb higher than an eagle, and it's faster than an eagle in its low and high gears. You top out at the different ranges, easier in the first gear and harder in the ninth gear. I went with a 32 ring up front and a 34 in the back, and I maxed out my slider, absolutely maxed it out, and it's a 113 belt, so I can definitely go with a shorter one, and that would bring my chainstay down a little shorter. So my chainstay now is at 17.18, I think it is, and so it's the longest chainstay that I've ever had built, but I kind of like it. It is really fast going downhill. Along with the Michelin tires, I went with the Odyssey insert in the back with a MV rim, and I wish I had spent the money early on and got some carbon rims before, because these things spool up so quickly. But the Odyssey inserts are interesting because they allow you to run really pretty low PSI in your tire and high PSI in your inner tube. And the inner tube is stout. It will take a beating, and it helps reduce your pinches, rim strikes, and everything. So I run like almost 30 in the tube and then 18 in the tire. I might even go a little lower. I'm going to check it out today. So moving on, I got my PNW dropper. I stole my wife's Aragon saddle. And then I went with a Chromag carbon bar, which I've never had a carbon bar before. I wanted to try to keep the bike a little bit light, seeing as that I've topped out at 32 frickin' pounds. So yeah, she's not light, but it's only 3/4 pound heavier than my last hardtail, so shouldn't be a big problem, especially with the weight all being down at the bottom there. So let's see what else. One thing I really like about this bike is it's absolutely quiet when you are coasting. Stealth. And matter of fact, that's the name of this frame setup. This is a B.F.D. Stealth, and I'm liking it. I messed up my paint job, if you haven't noticed, especially down here on the strong back for the gear drive. I'll tell you a little bit about that a little later when I get back to the office. Alright, well, I'm going to wrap it up and go for my ride, finish my ride, and I'll let you know how it all turns out. Whee! Hello, B.F.D. followers. Alright, now I'm going to give you kind of my final review of my new hardtail, and I just finished almost a 14-mile ride, and I went down to a local riding area called Tokal. It's in Falls City, Washington, and it's kind of more of our winter riding area. I just wanted a controlled area that I could actually ride in. This is the fourth ride I've completed on the bike, and it's really the second ride that was actually a true hard ride, real trails. The other two were kind of cross-country-ish. But anyway, what I wanted to do was let you guys know just exactly what I think of Pinion Gearbox and Belt Drive and the 9-speed, the C1-9. And I'm happy. I'm quite happy with the bike itself too. The design turned out to be pretty good. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. I couldn't get a seat tube that I wanted, which was a bent seat tube. And whenever I was doing thin tubes with my tube bender, I was crimping the tube. So I had to go buy one, and because of all the political crap that's going on, some of my vendors have gone out of business, or they're really hard to get some tubes from at times. And when I started doing this build, I couldn't get my bent seat tube, so I went with a light gauge double-butted one. And so when I set it up, I sometimes forget to double and triple check things, but I originally had my jig set up for the bent seat tube, and I did not correct it. And so the seat tube angle wasn't exactly what I had hoped, but it turned out to be pretty good. So let me go through a couple of the design features of this frame and the actuals now. All right, so the head tube angle ended up turning out to be about 64.8 degrees, and that's with a 160 lyric shock fork, and it felt a little slack at first until you get it out on the trail going downhill, and then it feels really good. When you're just pedaling around, you can feel it kind of want the front end dive just a little bit when you're going really slow. But in some ways, I kind of like that, because when I'm going really slow, I'm actually kind of maneuvering. You just got to be ready for it. Anyway, so the reach is 450. Oh man, I forgot what the reach was. Anyway, it's what it was designed to be, and I think that number is off. I think it's 480. Yeah, I'm getting my numbers mixed up. Anyway, don't quote me on the reach, but the seat tube angle is 75.3 ish. So I like really steep seat tube angles because it puts me into more of a running position when I want to go uphill, and allows me to really pull steep hills more efficiently, and still use the saddle to be seated and post up on the tip. Anyway, the chainstay is 17.18 inches long, and that is just a little longer than I wanted. I wanted a 17-inch chainstay, and with the possibility of going a little bit shorter, maybe a 16.75. At least make it variable so that I can do 17 and then shorten up if I wanted to do other things. But it turns out the 17-inch chainstay turned out to be a good fix, compromise anyway, because this bike is fast. It goes downhill. I mean, it is a racing machine if you want an enduro ride on it. It's scary fast. So let me go over a couple other things. I did a couple interesting little braces here on the chainstay. I was just playing around. I arced little pieces of steel, and this is completely aesthetics. There's nothing structural really about it. It might add a little bit. My brake for my frame is right here. It's a 2-bolt system, and I'm really happy with that. That turned out really pretty clean. The gap tolerance is pretty good. It's a little bit wider up here. The bottom one is actually almost interference, so it's perfect. You've got riding conditions, so you don't get any bending moments as much. It acts as a solid unit almost. My brace up here is kind of unique. Like I do on all my frames, I put a unique bridge, and I really like that one. I'm going to keep that one. That one's a keeper. I'll probably redo that and some other time. Okay, so what do I have on this bike? Okay, so during the ride I kind of gave a brief overview of what was the components that made up this frame, this ride, and I'm just going to hit a couple right away that are the outstanding components. And I am now a convert for Michelin tires. At least the Wild AM2s are awesome. They're fast rolling. They have really good support, and it seems like the carcass is a little more rigid than others. They're right in the middle of the line for weight. I think these are 1040. 1040. And so they're not the heaviest, but they're not the lightest either. But they seem to have really good characteristics when you reduce the air pressure. I'm riding with, today I rode with 18 up front and 18 in the back. Yeah, I'll get to that here in a second. I rode with 18 in the back. I think I can actually go lower and keep it, get a little bit of suspension out of there. What I'm doing is I'm riding with an Odyssey insert on this frame, and the Odyssey is a insert rim protector that you inflate like a regular inner tube. It has a 2-valve system on inflation, and the main one inflates the tube itself. And what's unique about this tube is that it actually inflates, and then it doesn't continue to stretch. It contains itself, and all you are, once you start adding more and more pressure, is increasing the PSI level in that tube, so it acts more stiff every PSI that you put in there. So once you get above 20 PSI, you can really start to feel the resistance. And today I rode with 28 PSI in that tube and 18 PSI in the tire itself. And I think I'm going to increase it up to 30 PSI in Odyssey tube insert, and then go down to maybe 16, 17 in the tire itself, and see how that holds up. It might feel a little squirmy, but it might help in compliance on some of the hits, because I'm not the cleanest rider when it comes to taking jumps and cleaning berms and things like that. I tend to catch the knuckle on a lot of rides, and I bomb through a lot of chassis crap and hit rocks and roots and stumps and things like that. But I'm a hard rider, and so I need something to kind of help protect. I was riding with Cushcore. Cushcore is kind of the benchmark. I mean, I've flatted and rode like 5 more miles out on it with no adverse effect on my tire or rim. The problem is that Cushcore is a bitch to put in, they're a bitch to take out, and if you have to make that fix on a trail, you better have some good tire irons. You know, I've never had a good time doing it. I always wait until I get home. With the Odyssey though, it's not a problem. I actually did most of the work without any tools. That said, I did have problems with one Odyssey insert where I could not get it to seal. Every time I would inflate the tire, for some reason the tube would, I'll say, dissect itself. Hey, Echo, look out! You're on TV now. That's my dog. She's getting into the video on the DJI. But anyway. And so I was kind of disheartened with that one, and I was worried that it wasn't going to work. I had 2, so I put the other one in on my other hardtail, and it works great. And so I kept playing around, and I noticed that the stem, the quill that goes inside the inner stem, got kinked and was not sitting well, and that's the weak point and the flaw in the Odyssey, I believe. I think you guys can do better. I have lots of suggestions I think would improve upon that setup. It might add a little bit more weight, but hey, you already got a light system. I think a little bit better quality, more user-friendly setup would go a long ways. And they're kind of expensive for what they are, but they're modular, so you can buy just the tube or you can buy just the stems, and they add up to about $80 for one tire. But you can replace the tube or the stems later on, and I think the tubes are like $35 or something like that. Not too bad, but for the setup, I think you guys can do better, especially if you happen to mess it up and have to get replacement parts. Anyway, I am turning out to really like it so far, as long as they hold up. I haven't had any problems with it riding yet. Alright, I kind of got distracted here, so let's get back on track, Sean. The belt drive. I've always wanted a belt drive, and to tell you the truth, I'm not quite sure why all you single speeders out there why you're not riding a belt drive. Good grief. They shed mud like you wouldn't believe. You don't have to oil and maintain them. You just wash them off. Occasionally, you put some Teflon on the underside. They're awesome. And, I don't know what the loss ratio is compared to a chain, the efficiency, but I tell you, it's so quiet and simple. I felt more efficient, and so mentally it felt better than a chain. So I don't know why you guys aren't all going to belt drives. Same thing with fixies. The belt drive is just so nice and quiet. So I like that, and the simplicity of it, the clean lines and all that stuff always appealed to me. So that's why I wanted to design my hardtail. And the decision to come up and use the Pinion, I'm not sponsored or anything like that. So I did all my research, and there were a couple, but Pinion was out there for a while, and I've heard of them, and there's brand recognition kind of helps go a long way. So that's what I did. I bought a Pinion Gearbox. Now, I had the choice between the 12-speed and the 9-speed. Of course, you could do a 6-speed. You could get the other ones that I think 18-speed or something like that. Jeez. But anyway, I opted to go with the 9-speed, and I have mixed feelings about my decision on that. I was thinking kind of like enduro type of riding, slow. I don't care so much about how fast I get to the top of a hill anymore. Turns out that's not necessarily true. So that's one of the negatives. Riding with a bunch of people that are in shape, or people that you normally ride with and keep up with, or ride faster, a little bit faster, I found myself struggling to maintain a constant pace with them. And that was because the gearing on the Pinions is set. Well, not set, but it's the same between each gear. And so with the ring setup that I have a 30, 32, 34 being in the back. And that gives me a ratio that's very comparable to the SRAM Eagle. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me pause here. That's echo. And jeez. Okay, I'm back. Now, where was I? I was talking about the gear ratios. So the ratios are set, and so the way I have it now, I have the same ratio, or actually it's better than the Eagle. Gear 1 is mountain goat. You sit there and spin, and as long as you have traction, you can keep going as long as you have good balance. So I think there's a point where it's too easy to spin, and any type of rough terrain or anything, you're going to lose your balance and fall over anyway. And so that benefit of being able to really spin and keep going kind of goes away if you can't maintain a balance. And you couple that with the slop in the ratcheting. I think the whole Pinion works on that. I think they can tighten that up a bit so that you're more comparable to some of the earlier chain drive free bodies, because it's substantial. The free play backpedaling is to the point where you can barely spin backwards fast enough and engage and get power to continue going. And so if you're a free rider, trials rider, anything like that, it's not the gearbox. I always stay away from at least the Pinion gearbox. I think they all probably have the same slop in the way of ratcheting. But that said, the gear ratio for me, it turns out to be that gear 2 is about what Eagle is, and then my gear 9 is actually gives me more power than gear 12 on the Eagle powertrain. So in that aspect, it's an awesome enduro range. I mean, you can just fly going downhill and pick a gear and lock in. And the thing about enduro is I tended to be coasting anyway when I shift, and that's the thing about the Pinion. You have to rev match if you sort of, or reduce the power on your pedal stroke in order to shift up or down, and so that's the negative. But in enduro, I find myself changing before I hit something. I kind of, you learn your intuition and all that stuff. So that wasn't a problem, and I think that's a benefit. You don't have to be pedaling to get into the gear that you want. You can just sit there and twist it, and you're in the gear. So I love that part, and I've always liked that about grip shift, is that you can dump your gears as fast as you can twist your wrist, or come back up and get into an easier gear. And with Pinion, you can't get any easier, especially if you're not pedaling. You can be sitting there coasting and just say, I want the hardest gear I can get, and you just twist it and you're there and go. Vice versa, if you get caught going up a hill, right around a corner, as long as you're coasting, you can twist into the first and you're in first right away. You don't have to pedal or chirp your gears or anything like that. So that's nice, but going uphill, getting caught in the wrong gear is a bitch. And so it's taking me a little while to get used to shifting, going uphill. That pause really loses a lot of speed. So, and then with the gear jump, I find myself wishing I had one more gear between the one I was in order to match the speed of my friends, because I'm either going hard and I'm working my legs, or I'm spinning faster than I want to spin, and I'm getting tired because I'm not a spinner, I'm a masher. So I kind of wish I got the 12 speed. I think that would have been better for your everyday riding, mountain biking, and I would never right now use them for cross country. They're just heavy. But if you weren't racing, the 12 speed would be the way to go, and I recommend the 12 speed. I was just worried about weight on my bike, because I knew it was going to be a heavy build, and it turned out to be 32 pounds. I ended up going with some really light wheels, rims, a good hub system, light bars, minimalistic stem. I could have done better on, of course, the Lyric is not the lightest fork out there, but it's a 160, so it's made to take a beating, and I always liked SRAM RockShox. I liked their product over Fox. Early on, Fox ruined me, because I was always blowing out seals and things like that, leaking, and it seemed like I always had to maintenance the damn things. With RockShox, man, sometimes I don't do anything other than do a lower oil change, and that's it. I do for 5 years, and then I replace my forking anyway. Anyway, so I said something about the Michelin tires are good. I like them. They're not the lightest, and so I can always lighten it up anyway. 32-pound bike, not horrible, but for hardtail, it's a little on the heavy side. But if I had built a regular bike with this build, it would have been like 29 pounds. So, Pinion, you need to take about 1 pound to 2 pounds out of your box somehow, or your setup. Maybe come up with a lighter strongback cradle for it. That's a pretty heavy piece of steel that. Well, maybe Pinion doesn't make that themselves. Maybe that's just made for them. I'm sorry if I jumped to that conclusion. But the actual strongback, I call it a strongback, the carrier for the box itself is a Herking 1-point-some pound piece of steel that is, I think it is well, it definitely has some milling that's been done. I don't know if it's a hog out itself, or if it's a forging and then a hog out, or if it's actual casting and then cleaned up with some milling. At any rate, it's heavy, and then along with the box itself, it's 5 pounds. So that's like 6 point some pounds just in the drive itself. Now, that's like 3 pounds heavier than a traditional drive. And so, yes, the weight's down at the very bottom, and that has a plus that I just noticed today for the first time. But, it adds weight to the bike. And it could have been like a 29 pound build, which would have been really quite nice. So Pinion, get some weight out of your parts. Alright, but Pinion did a good job so far. They have a couple little things that I think they need to work on. It'd be nice if you can go to a grip shift, one cable with a spring in the system that would ratchet it back once you slacken the cable, kind of like grip shift on derailleurs or SRAM on derailleurs. That would be kind of nice. That way you reduce the cable runs. The other thing is your plastic shift case guard. Come on. You can do better. Lightweight aluminum would be so much nicer. It would give a much higher quality feel there too, and less chance of some damage or breaking it, I've heard of a couple of people breaking those, and I've also was afraid that I was going to break it when I was peeling it off. So maybe they can improve upon that too. We'll see. I have ideas. Anyway, moving on. I have the North Shore billet cranks. And I can't say anything negative about those so far. I got a 160. I like the shorter crank. Is turning out to be nice. I might go to 155. Maybe, especially on a more of a free ride enduro rig. We'll see. Let's see. Atlas. Yeah. So race face pedals. I was a 1-Up fan for a while. The simplicity of their spindle capture and all that stuff I really liked, but I've kind of fallen out of favor with them. I don't care for them as much anymore. I like the design, but I wasn't happy. The spindle, I had problems on 2 spindles. On the inner bushing, actually exploded, came apart inside the spindle, and it grinded and it got sloppy. And so I tried to get a replacement spindle, and no replacement spindles. You gotta buy the whole pedal. Now, that's expensive, and I'm retired, and I can't afford to be replacing a whole pedal, and a spindle would do the job. And so I'm going back to something that has more of a common setup, with the spindle going all the way through with the capture nut and all that stuff. And we'll see how I like that. I used to rebuild those all the time. Yes, I didn't do the best maintenance on my 1-Ups, but at the same time, I kind of expect something their modular setup to be so simple, just to sell the spindles. Come on. Anyway, so I went with the Atlas Race Face Atlas pedals, North Shore billet cranks, the Lyric fork. Here's one thing. Right out of the box, I didn't do anything to the fork. I just threw it on and went riding. And maybe they knew what my weight was, but it was perfect for me. Maybe a little stiff, just slightly stiff. I think it can reduce a little bit of air. I don't know if it came with a token in there or not. It feels a little stiff, so maybe it's just air pressure, and maybe I'll go and pop that out the hood there and go and check to see if there's a token in there or not. If there isn't a token, I'll probably throw a token in there and make it a little more supple at the top. But hey, RockShox, you keep doing a good job in my eyes. I like you guys. You want to give me a sponsor? I appreciate it. Sponsorship was always any of these products, man. If anyone wants me to test out something, hit me up. I have more time now, retirement in my business, building frames, all that stuff. I like doing it. So if any manufacturers out there want me to check something out, let me know. Anyway, let's see. Moving on. The bars. I for the first time, in order to keep my frame down a little bit, I went with a carbon bar, and I'm happy with that too. I don't know that I still trust carbon bars for doing what I used to do, but for just hard cross country and some light enduro type stuff, it seems to be doing good. Now it's a Chromag carbon bar. It's a last year's model, and so I got it on sale, and I just couldn't pass it up. Now the color is has orange lettering on it. Doesn't go with my stealth gray, blue lettering crank box and all that stuff. Blue nipples on the spokes, but you know. Beggars can't be choosers. This is brides for me. It's not for anyone else. I don't care what the colors are. Anyway, I went with external routing this time on my shifter cable and my dropper post, except for where it goes into the seat tube. Kind of had to do that, and I always like the look anyway. And I went with one internal routed cable, and that is for the rear brake. It goes over into the top tube, comes out, breaks out right about there on the other side, comes down, picks up two cable guides, and then voila. Now I like it. And it's quiet, except for when I really get going hard, and then I have some cable slapping inside that makes you hear the bike, which is like any other bike that has internal routing, and it doesn't bother me at all. It's just that the bike is so damn quiet until I get really rough, and then it makes me think, oh, there's something wrong. But no, that's just the way this bike is sounding more like a regular bike. But you get used to it being so quiet. What else do I like about it? A little cables. I gotta do some cable management up front. Maybe wrap it and all that, because the cables do rattle and hit each other, and that adds a little bit more noise. But I really like it. Did I tell you the bottom bracket, by the way, is 12.5 inches off the deck, and I usually go at 12.75 inches. I just like high bottom brackets. I tend to do a lot of over logs and crap like that, and I like the clearance. I don't have a bash guard on this, and so I'd be a little worried about doing some of the stuff that I normally do, that I might actually fold or do damage the front ring, although it's pretty compact. But the thing about belts is that they don't like to be messed with unless it's in tension, and so I don't know what kind of damage can be done to them by compressing it if you run into something like you do when you chainsaw through a log or something like that. I'll have to ask them about that, because that's the only thing that I worry about with my type of riding. So I might have to design a bash guard onto my build, or get something that works with the Pinion setup. I'll have to go and look and see if they have something. But that's one thing I might actually add on to this bike. I worry about damaging the cables. I have one more belt on order just to have, just for that, that just in case. That's where I am. I ride with extra bolts, extra this, links, you name it. And so my pack is like 5 pounds heavier than everyone else that I ride with. Maybe I should lighten that up, and I keep up. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. The grips are SRAM grips because I have a shorty grip for the grip shift, right? And I'm doing it on the other side. Oh, by the way, for my dropper lever, it's this Nurka cheapo, probably Chinese, I think, brand or something like that. Got it off of Amazon for like $19. Works better than half the dropper levers that you can buy from the high cost brands out there. It's really nice. I've bought 2 of them now, and they work flawlessly, and they have a fairly good cam system on there. I mean, so that you get a good thumb ratio, pressure ratio, and you don't have to really work. I got 2 that you got like really lean into once the cables get a little dirty. Like the one I have on my other hardtail now, you got to really push on it, even though that the cable is brand new and the routing is pretty clean. It's just not a good ratio camming type of setup, and so you put a little pressure on the cable, and it's a lot of pressure on your thumb to get it to activate. Anyway, I have the P&W dropper, and I really like them. They're very light, they're easy. I used to be a reverb fan just because I like the hydraulic, the smoothness of the thing, but every time you want to take it apart or do anything like that, that bleeding process is a pain in the butt. And the first ones had problems. Actually, it's weird. My first reverb, which was when they first came out, flawless. It was great. The second one I bought, which was the newer one, it went for about 7 months, and then I had problems with it, and I had to have it rebuilt. And then it was flawless after that. But every time I moved it from one bike to another bike and had to rebleed it just took me forever to get it all set up. And so I decided to just go to the cable actuated ones, and they've gotten so much better since the hydraulics and all those things came out. They're better than the hydraulic actuated ones, in my opinion. They're much more reliable, they're easier to fix and replace, and they're lighter for the most part. So anyway, I stole the Aragon saddle from my wife, and I really liked it when I was riding around just in the driveway and all stuff. I thought it felt really good, but it's made for women, that one, and it's a little short. I'm finding that it's a little short, and the nose part of the saddle is a little wide. Actually, so I think women's saddles are a little wider as a whole. And so on the ride today, I noticed that I was getting a little sore. So I think I'll just go and invest in a Aragon men's saddle. see how that way now I can compare and see which ones are better, right? Anyway, the stem I think it's a 50 millimeter stem. So it's pretty short, and that worked out really well, especially with the slack head tube angle. It's pretty responsive, so no complaints there. But it's a fairly minimalistic. It doesn't have a lot of material in it, so it's not something that I'd want to be dropping big drops off of or hitting things really hard, because I don't know that it gives the actual bar support and across a larger area, and it's a carbon bar, so this is not going to be like what I used to do. So hopefully I don't damage myself if something breaks. But anyway, at least I got my bike weight down, right? And I think that's the total review. Now, what do I find myself liking? The bike is actually really, really fast. I'm really surprised. It's faster than my other hardtail. It's more comfortable than my other hardtail, even though the geometry is supposed to be about the same. The other bike has a steeper saddle, but for going fast downhill, this thing is a monster. I think if I reduce the air pressure in the back, it will be even more compliant and easier on me hitting things going downhill. So we're going to try that out in the next ride. Bottom bracket height, not a problem so far. I had one pedal strike, but that was off camber. So I get used to it. It's kind of a weird thing because although the bottom bracket's a little bit lower, I have shorter cranks, so a little bit of an offset. Okay, so what else we got going here? I think the Pinion Gearbox is nice, and I like it. I've already gone over the things that shortcomings, and as long as I don't have an ego and have to keep up with someone, a group, and just go at my own pace, the 9-speed is fine. But yeah, I kind of wish I got the 12-speed now. If I was just going to be doing racing enduros and things like that, where I want the right bike, 9-speed works, and it actually is quite workable. It's actually really good. I can't say anything really bad about it. It's just how you want to use the unit, right? Okay. All right. I think that's it. I'm happy. I'm going to be riding this bike a lot. I've been riding my Evil Insurgents. I have both the old school Insurgent and the newer one. It's the 180 travel and then the 160 travel bikes. Those were my full suspension bikes. I really like those, but I think I might be riding this thing more. I am now going to start working on my full suspension B.F.D. Pinion or Gearbox Belt drive setup. And just going off of that, I have a feeling that bike's going to probably be closer to 35 pounds. A little heavier, we'll see. I might be able to save weight. I'm not going to use the same bridge that I use on hardtail. I'm going to make my own and do a kind of a truss setup. I forgot one other thing. Alright, so the NV tires, rims, right, are actually really nice. I'm liking those, and here's the dual valve setup for the Odyssey. I don't know, can you see that? Alright, and then I have the DT Swiss, okay, so I have the DT Swiss, 350 hubs, and with the Hyperglides, with the Hyperglide free body, it is really quiet. You can still hear the click, but nothing like the Hydras and the Chris King and some of the other ones. Not as quiet as Onyx, of course, but this is actually quite quiet, and that's why I got this bike built up the way it is, because it's stealth, it's quiet. You can sneak up on people. So I really like that. Now the Shimano back brakes, the XT brakes, are working great. Not so happy with the Shimano front brake for some reason. It is not giving me the stopping power. Actually, it's weird. I bedded it in. I've done this lots of times. I know how to do it, but for some reason the bedding process didn't catch, and I can squeeze as hard as I can. I can even put 2 fingers on there and start squeezing, and I cannot get the wheel to lock up, and I need to work that out. I don't know if the bleed is off or if the pads are bad pads, but I had the same problem on my other bike that I put the XTs on, and same scenario, the front brakes just didn't work, and I ended up replacing the pads. So I don't know, maybe it's hit and miss on the pads, but it's weird that both front brakes on the XT setup no go. Not happy with that part. But I got the other ones to work, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get these to work too. And then this bike will be perfect almost, you know. Again, I'm 5'7", 5'7", 160 something pounds, and you know, I didn't do anything special to this bike yet in the way of like frame design. Well, it's mine, custom frame design, but I put minimalistic gusseting and all that. I actually didn't do any real gusseting on this frame at all, other than these braces down here for aesthetics, and then the bridge up at the seat stays, and that was it. So hopefully I don't break my frame. I probably will break this frame. Just knowing the way I ride, you know, probably in 3 years I'll probably have to replace the frame. That's just, you know, I say, oh, this frame's just going to be a cross-country frame. Next thing I know, I'm out there dropping, jumping, and doing something stupid on it. Alright, so there you are. That's my review of the Pinion 9-speed belt drive hardtail that I built. Alright, this is B.F.D. Designs, and if you have any questions about how I built my bike, feel free to hit me up, leave a comment, a like, you know the routine. I hate doing that. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Bye. the tube itself. And what's unique about this tube is that it actually inflates and then it doesn't continue to stretch. It contains itself, and all you are once you start adding more and more pressure is increasing the psi level in that tube, so it acts more stiff every psi that you put in there. So once you get above 20 psi, you can really start to feel the resistance. And today I rode with 28 psi in that tube and 18 psi in the tire itself. And I think I'm going to increase it up to 30 psi in Odyssey tube insert, and then go down to maybe 16, 17 in the tire itself, and see how that holds up. It might feel a little squirmy, but it might help in compliance on some of the hits, because I'm not the cleanest rider when it comes to taking jumps and cleaning berms and things like that. I tend to catch the knuckle on a lot of rides, and I bomb through a lot of chossy crap and hit rocks and roots and stumps and things like that. But I'm a hard rider, and so I needed something to kind of help protect. I was riding with Cushcore. Cushcore is kind of the benchmark. I mean, I've flatted and rode like 5 more miles out on it with no adverse effect on my tire or rim. The problem is that Cushcore is a bitch to put in, so they're a bitch to take out, and if you have to make that fix on a trail, you better have some good tire irons. You know, I've never had a good time doing it. I always wait until I get home. With the Odyssey, though, it's not a problem. I actually did most of the work without any tools. That said, I did have problems with one Odyssey insert where I could not get it to seal. Every time I would inflate the tire, for some reason the tube would, I'll say, dissect itself. The inner tube. Hey, Echo, look out! You're on TV now. That's my dog. She's getting into the video on the DJI. But anyway, and so I was kind of disheartened with that one, and I was worried that it wasn't going to work. I had two, so I put the other one in on my other hardtail, and it works great. And so I kept playing around, and I noticed that the stem, the quill that goes inside the inner stem, got kinked and was not sitting well, and that's the weak point and the flaw in the Odyssey, I believe. I think you